If you're a long-time fan of vivziepop or Hazbin Hotel, you're probably aware of the Hazbin Hotel prequel comics. These two comics, titled Dirty Healings and The Radio Demon, were released in 2020 and provided character development and lore for the series. However, not many fans are aware that there was supposed to be a third comic centered around Charlie and Vaggie, which was cancelled. In this video, I'm going to discuss the cancelled Hazbin Hotel comic you've never heard of. So, before we discuss the cancelled comic, it's important to understand the history of Viv's other comics. Viv has always enjoyed making comics, dating back to 2012 with her Zoophobia webcomic. As a result, when she was developing Hazbin Hotel, it made logical sense to start work on comics related to the show. This interest is visible clearly in a Twitter thread from April 2017. In this thread, Viv discusses how she misses doing comics, but says she might make some for Hazbin. This was obviously hinting to the future. Viv also made a short 4-block Serpentious comic in 2018, which once again reiterated her intentions of creating comics centered around the Hazbin universe. The creation of Hazbin Hotel comics was officially announced on August 12, 2019. During the stream, one viewer asks what things Charlie and Vaggie were up to before opening the hotel. Viv says she wants to answer it, but she doesn't want to spoil anything because she'll showcase what happens during the Hazbin comics. She mentions that most things will be told in the show, however there will be moments that will be shared in these prequel comics. So basically the viewer accidentally predicted what will happen in the comics. As I will discuss a little later, a comic focusing on Vaggie and Charlie's actions before opening the hotel was the basis of the cancelled third comic. The first chapter of the comics was released on October 27, 2019, one day before the release of the pilot. The website had 2 passcodes. The password to enter the website was Charlie's last name, Magni, while the password to actually access the comic was Angel's porn name, Angel Dust. The first 7 pages were available when fans entered the passcodes, while the remaining 15 were released on July 7, 2020. The first comic, titled Dirty Healings, is focused around Angel Dust and the specific events that led to him becoming the Happy Hotel's first patron. We see Angel interact with some loan sharks, Valentino, Charlie, Vaggie, and Fat Nuggets. vivziepop held a YouTube livestream on her channel 3 days after the release of the pilot. During the stream, she revealed that she will make more comics in the future. On November 7th, 2019, Viv did a second livestream. Once again, fans asked about the prequel comics, and Viv said more will come out. At this point, the password protection was removed from the website. Viv said that the rest of the Angel comic was completed, but things like inking, colouring, and wording were the things left to do. Viv said that the comics will release as little arcs. She announced that the second one will be about a day in the life of Alastor. On November 11th, 2019, Viv discussed the comics a little during an update video on her channel. She said they will release more in the future in between episodes. At this point, Viv wasn't sure whether she should shop Hazbin Hotel around to different companies to hopefully get it picked up, or fund it via donations like with Helva Boss. But regardless, she wanted these comics to keep fans engaged while work was being done on the main episodes. Unfortunately, the Angel Dust comic took longer than anticipated to release. Fans started to get worried as months would go by with no updates. During summer 2020, one of the people working on the comics, Fostis, provided an update saying that the final pages of Angel's story are being completed and that they'll be up in the next couple of weeks. The remaining 15 pages of Angel's comic were released on July 7th, 2020. With Angel's story fully out, work continued on Alastor's. This prequel comic was titled Hazbin Hotel, The Radio Demon. However, it was also known as A Day in the Afterlife. On the 29th of June 2020, Fostis announced the comic was done and would be released sometime in July. Similarly to the Angel Dust comic, Alastor's story took longer than expected to release. It was finally released in October 2020. This 16-page comic was centered around Alastor. It shows his stroll prior to the events of the Hazbin pilot, where we see demons of hell being terrified at his presence. He murders a shopkeeper, and it also showcases his rivalry with Fox. So, with the first and second comic discussed, we can finally get into the lost third one. As I discussed previously, the first 2 focused on Angel and Alastor, while the third was meant to focus on Charlie. One of the creators of these comics, Fostis, would regularly stream the creation of both the Angel Dust and Alastor comic. However, she also showcased early work on the third one. This comic, written by Viv, would take place before the pilot like the other 2. The basic outline of this comic was that it would contain multiple flashbacks to Charlie's past. One scene involved a flashback to her high school years in hell, where she was in a relationship with Seviathan von Eldritch. Seviathan and his family, if you weren't aware, appeared in 2 portraits in the background of the hotel during the pilot. His sister Helsa would also have a leading role in the comic, since she was to be a sort of bully character. Viv said Helsa was a mean rich girl that Charlie would butt heads with. Helsa was also briefly visible in the pilot when Charlie calls her a loser during her song, and also in the background portraits. During the story, we'd also learn how Charlie met Vaggie. perhaps seeing the pair meet at high school. Furthermore, Lucifer, Charlie's father, was meant to appear as well. Vostis had showcased some of the work she did on this comic during past live streams. These streams have all been deleted, but some archived screenshots do exist. In the first image, we see Vaggie and Charlie wearing different outfits. This is because they'd wear different outfits during the flashbacks, especially the ones where Charlie was in high school. Charlie was meant to wear a high collar jacket, glasses, and a backwards cap. Vaggie, on the other hand, had her hair in a pigtail, while she wore fishnets, stockings, garters, and a corset. This is a bit off topic, but I love these designs. In another two images, we see some more early concepts. This character looks to be Helsa because of the overall design, the fish in the background, and her phone saying "Boss Fish." The second image shows her again interacting with what appears to be Vaggie. Her design is just wonderful, I really like it. In this image, we see a concept of one of the panels. It shows Charlie singing. We have some layouts of the comic which details some of the scenes. In the first box, we see high school Charlie. The second box has to do with a teen party with high school Charlie and Helsa. The next one has to do with characters in different outfits. Helsa is meant to be fashionable, Charlie starts off ugly but ends up glamorous along with Vaggie. The next one is the characters in both casual, home and dapper wear. The final box shows them in casual outfits. So, at least to me, the basic plot is that the comic would show the rivalry between Helsa and Charlie throughout high school. The rivalry continues after and even when Charlie and Vaggie start dating. The final image we have access to is a panel of the comic featuring the Von Eldritch table. This panel looks beautiful and has lots of work poured into it, similar to the backgrounds in the pilot. I think the Von Eldritch household would have provided a neat contrast to the Happy Hotel. In the pilot, the hotel had lots of images related to Lucifer, such as eyes, apples, wings, and his emblem. The Von Eldritch household is probably similar, but instead filled with fish-related imagery. The scene featuring the Eldritch household is probably where Lucifer would have been involved. We see in the pilot in the background that the two families appear close. My theory is that the comic shows the disintegration of Charlie's relationship with Sophiathan, the start of her rivalry with Helsa, how she met Vaggie, and then perhaps a scene of the two families meeting to discuss something. So after taking a look at the art, it looked like the comic was proceeding nicely with a supposed release date of October 2020. As you're probably aware, the comic was never released. What ended up happening was that the Alastor comic was delayed and eventually released in October, while the Charlie comic never saw the light of day. In August 2020, it was announced that Hazbin Hotel was being picked up by A24. After this announcement, fans asked Vostis what's going on with the Hazbin Hotel comics. Vostis responded that she can't answer these questions because she's no longer working on Hazbin Hotel. She went on to explain that she put in a notice to end her contract because she was moving into a new apartment, had an upcoming professional job, along with future projects. She also mentioned that she wanted to pursue her own projects and work. Vostis thanked everyone for the support over the years, and Viv thanked her and responded that the upcoming chapters will blow people away. She's referring to the Alastor comic, which eventually came out in October, but you could also put forward the argument that she was also referring to the Charlie comic. The last time Vivzie discussed the Hazbin comics was in a tweet made in February 2021. Viv did a thread discussing criticisms that she cancels too many projects. In one tweet, Viv said that the Hazbin comics are in the works. However, in order to not cause confusion, they will just release them when they're ready. So in this tweet, we have Viv confirming that the comics are still in the works. However, she doesn't mention whether this is referring to the Charlie comic or any other new ones. This was the last time we've heard about the Hazbin comics. So with the history of the three comics analysed, it's time to discuss some of my theories on why the third one was cancelled. The first theory has to do with the fact that some of the people working on the project left Spindlehorse. The first person, Vostis, was heavily involved in making the comics. As I discussed previously, Vostis had to leave due to upcoming work and IRL events. The other artists who did work on the comics, like penciling, line art, colour and backgrounds, also don't work at Spindle anymore. I'll discuss this a little further in the next theory, but it's pretty safe to say that one of the reasons the third comic was cancelled was because everyone working on it left Spindle to pursue other projects. You can also put forward the argument that the comics were difficult to create. We don't know exactly what the issues were, but from what I shown earlier, it's clear that the comics went through development troubles and ended up releasing later than expected. This culminated in the final comic, Charlie's, being cancelled. One important event is that on October 10th, 2020, Vostis revealed that one of the colour artists was a minor when she worked on the comic, and both Vostis and Vivzie weren't aware of it until later down the line. As a result, they had to have the artist's parents waive permission for her to participate and were forced to dismiss her after she had completed her assignments. The artist was let go after the incident, so this again would have contributed to the issues since the team would have been down by one person. The second theory has to do with A24. A24 announced that they picked up Hazbin Hotel on the 7th of August 2020. Vostis' tweet announcing her resignation publicly was a couple days after. I discussed previously that the artists who did the comics don't don't work at Spindle anymore, it's likely that A24 was involved. It could be complicated to develop comics related to the lore of the shows when it's currently being worked on. It makes logical sense for A24 to want to avoid these sort of things, since it can confuse the fanbase and create difficulties in production. As a result, it's likely that work on the comics was cancelled so that they wouldn't interfere with the shows. The third theory is a mix of 1 and 2, along with what I personally believe what happened. At least to me, it seems that there was difficulties in producing the comics. Each comic was delayed and went through a troubling development cycle. This, combined with many of the artists leaving to pursue other projects, one being let go, and the introduction of A24 made the entire thing unsustainable. Viv probably realised the situation was spiralling a little, and rather than continue with the comic series, she got the team to finish the Alastor comic, posted it, and then silently cancelled the Charlie comic. Over on the subreddit, there's still viewers hoping that the comic will release. However, it's 2023 and there's been radio silence regarding them. This situation reminds me a lot of what happened with the Hazbin Instagram accounts. I have an entire video on that topic if you're interested, but basically issues regarding canonicity, behind the scenes drama, and the introduction of A24 caused the accounts to be shut down. The situation with the third lost comic is eerily similar. Personally, I think that Viv is still working on Hazbin comics, however they will release once the full show comes out. Her tweet in 2021 alludes to this. She would probably have to hire a new team to work on them, however. You could also put forward the theory that some of the concepts of the comics may have been repurposed into the actual show. Third comic solved questions viewers had when the pilot came out, such as how Charlie and Vaggie met in the first place. With how difficult these comics were to create, it makes total logical sense for Viv to cancel them and instead put these scenes into the actual show. Rather than read the scenes of how the couple met or flashbacks to Charlie's past, we'll likely see these play out in real time in the show. It's a little difficult for Viv to discuss these issues because of NDAs, but at least to me this makes the most sense. If the Charlie comic is repurposed into an actual episode, it allows Viv to create comics on other fun stories. We could get backstories on how characters like Husk and Nifty got involved with Alastor. Personally, I would love if this happened. The Alastor and Angel Dust comics were a joy to read, so if we get similar ones in the future, it would be awesome. The amount of outside research needed for the shows is something that is brought up regularly. Fans that haven't been kept up to date with live streams, tweets, or the subreddit will normally end up in the dark related to news on the shows. It makes sense for Viv to take these comics and have them play out in the actual show, so that fans will not miss out on any important bits of lore. So that's the history of the Lost Hazbin Hotel comic. I do hope in the future we get more Hazbin comics, but we'll just have to wait and see. If you have any thoughts on the video or my theories, let me know in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching.